My name's Tommo, and today I'm sitting down with Ferrari young driver and 2024 F2 driver, Ollie Bearman. Ollie has made a huge impression after jumping into single-seaters in 2020, dominating Italian F4 in 21, just 7 points shy of the 22 F3 title, and a 4-time race winner in his rookie F2 season last year. Ollie recently accomplished something in Baku that you don't see very often in F2. Pole position, sprint win, feature win, domination. Leclerc, Russell, Drogovic were all convincing winners in their respective seasons, but none of them ever managed that. And it turns out that Ollie's hometown is where I live. So we had to get this done, a nice long chat, all things past, present and future. And does he know what he needs to do to put himself in with the best chance of a 2025 Formula 1 seat? Huge shout out to ACanteen, one of my favourite independent food and drink gaffs in Chelmsford, for hosting us. We will be grabbing some pizzas to scran in a bit. I hope you enjoy our chat. So Ollie, what's this break been like? Is it nice to be home? Because you're living in Italy now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Living abroad has its pros and cons. The cons are, of course, missing my family. I don't get to see them that often. I mainly just see them at the races. But I also like kind of the freedom, and also living abroad near to Ferrari is also good for my kind of motivation. But it's nice to come home. I really enjoyed this kind of month and a half break, but I'm ready to get going now.
And your dogs as well? Dogs
and my dogs, yeah. Dogs are kind of the main reason I come back home. So,
don't tell your parents that, come on. That's not...
I say that
but it's true, come on. Like.
I say it on podcasts, I haven't told them yet, so hopefully they don't watch this.
I was thinking about, I showed you Minton earlier, I was thinking about bringing him, but I just know like he'd chill and then he'd bark for no reason. And it's just like, okay, he's happier at home, so he'll be in the bed right now. What are you two dogs doing now?
They're probably in my bed actually.
Yeah, okay.
I hope I shut the door.
Is your old room now their room?
Pretty much. Or my sister's. My sister prefers to sleep in my room, so when I come back, it seems like they've stolen my.
Yeah, I mean,
house.
there's not much you can do about it, is there?
I'm like an intruder when I come back.
So what's it? Obviously, you're in Italy now. You've picked up the twang, definitely.
Yeah,
I can tell.
I don't sound like an Essex guy.
No, you've kind of lost a bit of the Essex. I'm hoping that by the end of this interview, you'll sound more like me again, right? You'll bring it back. But obviously, there's a lot of, we were talking before, like there's drivers like Johnny's from around this way, Johnny Herbert's around this way. I guess, you know, Lewis, Stevenage. In terms of this proximity, this kind of area that we are, was there anyone growing up that was like nearby? Because you lived in Chelmsford for like most of your upbringing.
Since I was born, right?
Yeah.
Through karting, there were a few guys, mostly from like East London way.
Yeah.
But only until I was like 12, 13, and then you kind of just go your separate ways. When I was starting out in karting, there was one guy who was kind of my main competitor. We were always in the same championship for like 3 or 4 years, but then he went to race in Europe. He was on the Red Bull junior team. His name's Harry Thompson. Yeah, there was one guy who went to my school, because I went to Kegs, not too far from here, and he still karts with my brother actually.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
But yeah, not really any people from this way. Hopefully my brother will be the next one. That's the plan.
Because I saw you shared a post on Instagram a little while of your brother karting.
Yeah.
So where's he at the moment in his journey?
He's following what I did basically.
Yeah.
We decided to take the British karting route rather than karting in Europe. It's a bit more accessible for us considering we live in the UK, and Thomas can also go to school full time. I feel like once you move over there, you've pretty much given your life up. You've started all over again. So yeah, he's karting in the UK. I was supporting him in Bahrain for the World Championship in Rotax, and he came 6th in the end, which was not bad. He's been doing well. So he doesn't like to take advice from me.
Of course
I'm
not.
the brother.
Of course not.
But yeah, he's doing well. He's getting there.
Nice. Like for you, where did the bug come from? Like, was your mum, your dad, uncle, like, was there anyone in the family, or did you kind of discover racing yourself?
Racing in cars was always in my family, in the dad side of my family. My mum's side is a bit scared of that, but my dad's side are more thrill seekers, let's say.
Okay.
So my dad raced, his brother raced, and my granddad raced, all in a championship together. They all raced against each other in the UK back when. Yeah, before I was born. And then when I was born, when I was 4 or 5 years old, my dad and uncle raced each other, also in the UK. I remember going to watch some of their races, and that was kind of where I started to get the bug, I would say. I always loved cars.
Yeah.
Like I could tell you every car on the road. I was a bit of a nerd. But
I'm the same.
yeah. But yeah, after that, I went karting when I was 5 for the first time. Santa got me a card for Christmas, and that's it.
Santa came through clutch. I always asked for one, never got one. Santa, come on, man.
Yeah.
Buckmore and Rye House are both about the same distance, aren't they?
Yeah.
So was there one particular?
The first time I went karting was at Buckmore.
Okay.
They have a little oval track. Like I could probably have run it faster than I was driving it the first time. But you know, it's normal. And then
you were 5, so forgive that.
I'll let myself up. When I got my real card, I went to Rye House. We used to go on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, or Saturday mornings, I think. So I remember that was always the highlight of my week, getting up early on a Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday mornings and Wednesday nights. So we'd leave after school on a Wednesday, just do like an hour of driving, and then Saturday morning, get up nice and early with Dad, and love that was it.
What's your favourite of the two? Did you have a?
I don't know. I love both of them.
They're very different, aren't they?
Yeah. Have you ever been to either of them?
I've done both. I've driven. I'm actually doing Buckmore 24 this year.
Really?
So I need some tips.
I'll give you some tips.
Yeah, we'll maybe chat after.
Off camera. Yeah. So Rye House kind of holds. I don't know. I feel like it holds more of a special place in my heart because that's where I really started. I kind of just learned how to start and stop around Buckmore.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Rye House was like the place that I used to go. Yeah. Pretty much only Rye House for a good few months in my little Bambino cart. Yeah, that I just love that track because I started there, and it means a lot to me. I actually went back there a few years ago in a big cart, and it's a lot smaller in a big cart. Back in the day, it felt like a massive track,
of course.
When I was 5. But it's a really cool one, and there's a lot of history there. I think Lewis started there, Jensen was there as well, so it's a cool track. But also Buckmore, it was one of the other tracks that I kind of liked a lot because I spent most of my childhood there. So it's a cool one.
And they're both on the kind of, you've got PFI, they're two of the main tracks, right? When you're doing the UK Championships.
Yeah, more or less. I think less so now. When I was growing up, yes, especially Buckmore. Yeah. Now they don't really run there. I think Buckmore closed a few years ago to like owner drivers, so the British champs. Right. But then they opened again recently. Yeah. So I think it started again, but yeah, we got a lot of cool tracks in the UK. PF, like you said, is a really cool one. Have you been?
So I went on a stag do and literally outlap, did half of the outlap, and it was one of them days where it was sunny, and all of a sudden it absolutely lashed down for like 10 minutes, and none of us were in the
wetsuits.
None of us were in the wetsuits, so we all got soaked at the start, and we were driving through a huge puddle, and you've obviously had this, right? Drive through a huge puddle, and
you're covered
from the bottom up as well.
You're like a magnet.
Oh, mate, listen, I don't know. I mean, karting's incredible. Like when I was a kid, that was all I wanted to do, and obviously it is very expensive. Obviously, you've done it. Your brother's doing it now as well. How do you perceive maybe? You look at sim racing, how that's grown a lot now. Mohammed Ben Sulayem's been quoted saying how he wants to try and help make karting more accessible and cheaper, but then fundamentally it's going to always be expensive. When you look at karting in the UK or in Europe right now, top tier karting, are you seeing anything there, potential cost saving or potential ways things could be done differently to make it a bit more accessible?
Yeah, I think if you compare the UK to Europe, it's a huge sign that it can be done, because karting in the UK is much cheaper than abroad in Europe. Like to do top level karting in Europe is really expensive, and that's, for me, was the main reason why we didn't do it. We stayed in the UK with the odd races, but never with WSK or the World like the FIA stuff, because it was too expensive. In the UK, they have a really good product because they've managed to keep the cost down and make it a bit more accessible. Then it's still, it's a very expensive sport if you compare it to the likes of the other equivalents, football, tennis, it's a very expensive sport. I remember when I was growing up, my dad was telling me, he was trying to convince me to go to football. He was like, he was telling me I could have a new pair of boots every week. So that was the...
Where would you play if you were football?
No, I was never, I was never at a level. I don't know, I've got 2 left feet, I think.
Was there any other, growing up, were there any other sports you engaged in at all?
When I was younger, I was quite good at running. My mum used to run. Okay. She was really tall, so that helped her. but I wasn't really that tall, so I tried, but you know.
So you had your growth spurt late on then?
Yeah,
because you're
I am
tall
tall
now.
now. Yeah. Luckily I had it, but yeah, when I was growing up, I wasn't really the tallest, and yeah, karting was for me, because also in karting it's really important to be small for the aerodynamics and the weight as well.
Yeah, how did you find that? Because I seem to remember something, I think it was an interview Esteban Ocon did, and he was talking about how like he had a mark on his wall, and he was like, he didn't want to get taller than that mark because then it'd be an issue. And obviously how tall are you?
6'1", 6'2".
Yeah. So you're like taller than, I mean, the typical racing driver you think of quite small, right?
Exactly.
So was that ever an issue?
In karting, it wasn't an issue because, like I said, I didn't really start growing until like 2021 when I was in F4. So that was good. It came at a good time.
Right, yeah.
My body knew I was going to F4, so I could grow.
You had a bit more space to play with.
Yeah, exactly. But even in F4, I remember in the second year, so my final year of F4, I probably wasn't that much shorter than I am now, and I was, you know, shoehorned in.
Yeah.
It was tight, but now, especially with the new F2 car, there's a lot more space. But for example, when I jumped in the F1 car, in the Ferrari, because it was the 2021 car, it was made to fit Leclerc and Sainz, who are, you know, I'm a bit taller. I was quite tight in that. So yeah, it's less of an issue now, I feel like, because there's a lot more taller drivers. If you look 10, 12 years ago, I think like Jenson Button was the tallest guy, and he was telling me he seemed to struggle a bit. But now you've got a lot of guys like Nico, Esteban, they're all pretty tall, so, and George, so that's helpful.
They've laid the foundations for you to come in and be like, that's fine. Because I think it was back in like the 70s, 80s, they literally like, they would choose, and they would choose smaller drivers.
Exactly.
Purely to fit in the chassis.
Yeah.
Was your head's like stuck out at the top as well?
Yeah, exactly.
God, you got the halo.
Bit of a safety risk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you touched on 21. I did want to talk about 2021 because Ollie, mate, that was like, what a year. I mean, what, ADAC F4, Italian F4, but that Italian F4 season as well. What, you got 7 in a row?
Something like that, yeah.
I checked the Wikipedia. Good old Wikipedia. 7 in a row, and then there was a DQ for some reason.
Yeah, there was.
And then you won the next one. What was the DQ? What happened?
It was for my engine.
Okay.
They took my engine away. They gave me another one, so then I just won the next race.
It wasn't your fault. So I just got the new engine and won the next race. Because obviously the year you did Italian F4 the year before.
Yeah, so actually I was wrong. 2020 was my first year in F4, and that was a funny year because COVID came along. It kind of pushed everything back in terms of the championship. So it meant that I could have done the full championship. Like as I went into 2020, my goal was to do karting for another year, senior karting in the UK and Europe. But then COVID came along, everything was pushed back until post my birthday. So I was old enough to do F4.
So what's the age limit for F4?
I think it's 15.
Okay.
Yeah, it must have been 15, and I just turned 15 in May. But the championship was meant to start in April, March. So.
That makes sense.
I was quite lucky. It benefited me. But honestly, that year, it was a tough year for me because I was massively underprepared. I just came in. I think I didn't do any start practice before my first race start, and I stalled it off the line. It was not the best.
It's happened to the best of them, right? We've seen that.
You know when you're at the lights, right? You're trying to beat the guy off the line.
Oh yeah,
it happened.
I've definitely done that before.
But the speed was there. You know, my first race, I was on the front row in qualifying, so that was never in doubt. But just the other stuff that I didn't quite get down.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first year of F4 was kind of like a learning year. The second one was where I got to business and it got serious.
There's so many things that make a successful racing driver. One, that pace, consistency, tyre management, just the mental game of it as well. Do you think you just improved in all aspects after that first year, or was there a particular thing you think? Because that 21 year was like the results were exceptional. There's no question. So it's like, what made you step up so significantly? Do you think?
I think the first thing is I had a really good working relationship with my team and my engineer.
And that was Prema as well at the time.
That was VAR.
Oh, VAR.
VAR, another Dutch team. They were really strong in F4. I chose my engineer who he was trying to go to the next category. He was trying to go to Frecker. and kind of move
He's
up.
trying to leave you.
Exactly, but we convinced him one more year.
Nice.
Now he's in regional, but yeah, we convinced him to stay one more year. And
Yeah.
yeah, we had a really good relationship. He helped me to focus on the right things, and he's also, it's even rubbed off now, you know. I feel like his kind of input and help has helped me up until now, just to think about the right things and have a strong mental game. And in racing, you have really short gaps. You know, in F2 we have free practice, 3 hours later we're in qualifying.
Yeah.
You haven't got a long time to focus on what you need to improve on for qualifying. It's important to focus your energy on the right things and get everything correct. And that year in 2021 was just really strong with my team. Of course, I feel like one lap pace probably just got stronger from experience. My consistency was of course better because I just learned from my mistakes. That type of stuff just comes with experience. But yeah, it just went right. It was a good year.
So off the back of that, FDA, Ferrari, how did that come about?
So actually, about halfway through the season, I'd won a lot of races in a row, and I think they gave my manager a call or something. That basically how it works in FDA is they have like scouting camps.
Okay.
So it's a bit like football. It's a really cool concept. They bring people to Ferrari, to Maranello, 4 or 5 guys. They have them in F4 cars around Fiorano. You've been around there, no? Pretty cool track.
Almost threw up. Actually, I'll put a little clip here because I've got a clip on my SD card at home.
Yeah.
Of me, I'm like burping.
Retching.
But I kept it in just. Sorry, carry on.
What car were you in?
It was the, what's it called? The
296.
296. Yeah, the hybrid one.
That's a cool one.
You know, the way that thing accelerates, honestly.
It's unbelievable,
I
right?
think it's because of the hybrid, because you don't feel
Yeah.
the gear changes at all.
Exactly.
It's like an electric car, it feels like an
Yeah,
electric car.
it like cuts in the differences between the gear
Have you
changes.
driven that?
I've never driven it, but if you can lend me one for the day for
Yeah, come on, come on, give it a go. No, that was crazy. But yeah, so F4's around Fiorano, that must be...
Exactly, so it was kind of a dream
cool.
come true, you know,
Yeah,
because
mate, that's crazy.
it's one of the tracks that you see, you know, that garage, that Shell garage. I've seen videos of Schumacher, Alonso, Vettel pulling out of there, and it was pretty cool to do the same, which I also did in F1 not too long later, which we'll speak about later. But yeah, so I pulled out in that F4. There was a bunch of us, and it's cool because they can see exactly what you're doing. You know, if they watch you on track, they're just watching a live stream. You know, they don't have any data telemetry. They took us to the track, they could see everything, which was really cool. We had fitness tests as well, mental tests. It was a full range. Off the back of that, we did another one, and yeah, clearly everything went well because we signed together, and yeah, I've been there since the start of 22.
I want to know, like, where were you when you got the call from your manager that Ferrari were interested?
Actually, it was a funny story because my dad told me. And I had COVID, so I was up in my bedroom, and it was during like the British Grand Prix, so I don't remember when. I remember I had COVID, I was sitting in my room, it was like the worst week of my life, I was isolating, and my dad took me downstairs, he was like, I've got some good news. There's my family there and me, like, with a mask.
Oh no!
But yeah, that kind of brightened up my week. I don't know if that was that they'd signed me or that they were interested in me. Okay. I'm not sure which one it was, because it seems British GP seems
so that was before you did obviously the Fiorano
I think it was,
right?
but honestly it's all blurred together. So.
Oh mate.
But yeah, I think because I remember I sat down with the sporting director, who's not there anymore. But yeah, I was so nervous. Like it was it was the first time I'd ever spoken to like you know, an important person, and it was such a nervous moment. You know, I had to kind of sell myself, and it was cool, but yeah, I was really nervous. I remember that I was like talking to the guy, trying not to show him that I was like shaking with
well, because like, how important in that moment for you? Because you're still, I mean, you're still only 18, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like you're 6 months younger than my sister-in-law, who I like. I still remember when I first met her, and she was 12. Like you're so young, and you've got all this pressure ultimately of these opportunities to. It's Ferrari, you know, it's the team.
Yeah.
And how important is it having the people around you, and what kind of setup do you have in terms of we're seeing now, again, just to give an F1 example, with Oscar and how important Mark Webber's been for him and Oscar's team, and his mum's on Twitter, which is great because she's jokes. But like, how important is having that kind of team around you as well to kind of support you through that?
Yeah, so I have a really good team around me. My manager's an ex-tennis pro, so he doesn't bring racing experience, but he brings athlete experience.
Okay.
He's competed at high levels, and he understands the pressure and the work that you have to put in, and that was really helpful for me. I also have a mental coach who comes to my races to help me just to stay calm and focused. And my dad's good as well. He doesn't give me advice anymore, but especially back in the day when I was younger, he was quite important because he bought racing experience when I was 7, 8 years old, when I had none of it. I'm like my brother, I probably didn't listen to anything he said, but he was really helpful for me back in the day as well.
I think that's so underappreciated, I guess. And it's one thing having the ability, and it's another thing being able to have that team around you. Because I mean, I guess you don't choose who your parents are, you don't choose who brings you into this world, but fortunately, they were able to push you, I guess, towards these opportunities. And I mean, now, like, how has life changed since that Mexico FP1? And jump forward.
That was a pretty cool experience. First, we'll start with the Ferrari day in Fiorano, because that was prior to...
that was first time in an F1 car, right?
That was the first time in an F1 car. I had to do that. I had to do 300 kilometers to get the free practice super license. Because at the time, I didn't have enough super license points. So it was kind of cool because
How many did you need for is it 25 or...
25 or 30, I think.
I think it's something, for the FP1.
I had enough to get the FP, but if you don't have 40, you need to do 300 Ks. Right, so that was cool though, because by the time I got to Mexico, I'd already had experience. The speed wasn't something incredibly new, But after I won the feature race in Monza, I spoke to I remember I went to where everyone's standing, and my boss at the time whispered in my ear. He was like, "Come to my office after you finished everything. I've got something to tell you."
Oh God, that's a bit like...
Exactly, so I was doing all the...
Probably is good, I've just won in Monza. It's probably good.
Can't be bad.
I don't think they're dropping me after I just win in Monza. Like,
you're out.
Yeah.
But no, it's... so I was doing all the interviews and the press conference with this in the back of my mind. I was like, what is it? And he told me that I was going to be doing the FPs in Monza and Abu Dhabi. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. But then we realized that, of course, I have to do the 300 kilometers. And yeah, that's how we managed to set up the test in Fiorano.
Okay.
But it was nice because I've been doing a lot of sim that year. So it was nice to finally get a correlation for the sim guys. Because I'd been driving the sim, not really sure what it, if that was realistic or not, because I'd never driven the car in real life. So once I'd experienced it, that was also cool. And like I said, to drive out of that box, basically 3 years after, I'd driven out of it in an F4 car. That was pretty cool, pretty quick progression. And it was one of those moments where you pinch yourself because it's a childhood dream coming true, That was really awesome. Yeah, I have a really nice photo in my house now, framed, of all the guys. We took one together. It was really, really nice.
Right, Ollie, before we carry on, quick one. We're going to grab some food from ACanteen. Pizza. Italian.
Remind me of home.
Come on, got her.
Yeah, I'm pretty boring. I go for a margarita, but you can't beat a good pizza.
Let's get a margarita, shall we? You were in which Ferrari were you in?
The 2021.
21, okay.
So not quite the same kind of era, but still the same speed. They're just as fast as nowadays. So
yeah, absolutely.
It was insane.
Whose car was it?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
But because I guess those cars just go into...
I think it's just a chassis, it probably was driven by both at some point, or was a spare or something, but no, it was really awesome.
What was you pull away, and obviously the G-force, I imagine, right, is the overwhelming... I know drivers have spoken, it's the braking, right? That's the thing that gets you most.
Yeah, so It's a funny story, but my trainer, he's always really careful of what I eat, especially if I have lunch just before a race. He makes sure I'm eating solid food or particular food, so I don't feel sick when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I always thought it's not an issue, you know. It's I don't see the problem. Anyway, after lunch in Fiorano, I came out the pits first lap, and I felt sick because the braking was so strong that the food was going. So yeah, now I understand the importance of eating the right food because it's insane. You can just put all of your weight into the pedal and it stops. It's just incredible. And I just could keep pushing it later and later and later, and it just has so much grip. It's a different world, really. And the first time I drove out the pits, and it's a very short lap. It's 55 seconds. So, you know, I drove out the pits for the first time. Tires are already warm, which is quite new to me. You know, in F2 we have to do 1 or 2 warm-up laps.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, tires were warm, we were ready to go. And you know, I'd driven around, still getting used to it. I hadn't even gone flat out yet. And I hear the call on the radio, like mode push, DRS and everything. And like 2 seconds later, I'm doing 300 Ks down the straight, out of nowhere, like this. It's just insane. It's super cool.
I guess once you get, because you've done sim, you've been on the sim, you've got experience with that level of speed around a track. It's the G-force, it's that human instinct to be like, you got to brake because you know you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But I imagine, right, once you've got used to that G-force and that visceral physical experience, right, then you probably settle into it because you've got the experience with the sim.
Exactly. I found the sim really helped me because first of all, for the systems, like the steering wheel, I knew all the functions, which is really difficult, especially
of course,
if I didn't do the sim, it would have taken a long time to learn everything.
Yeah.
But also to know what the car's capable of, and just braking references and stuff like that is important. But you know, you don't have the fear aspect in the sim. If you crash, you can press a button and start again. Yeah, that was something about driving a Ferrari in Fiorano that made me probably take a step back and take it a bit easier because, it was, you know, there is a lot of fear. The walls are pretty close in that track. You saw, especially in an F1 car, it feels pretty even closer. So,
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped me to go on the sim, and I felt quite comfortable in the car straight away because it has power steering, for example, which makes your life a whole lot easier than F2. The F2 cars are a handful. It's very difficult to drive. So when I got in the F1 car, I was ready to go. My neck was a bit tight the next day.
But I was literally about to ask, how was the neck?
To be honest, I haven't had any issues. So I did the FPs.
Okay.
But the FPs are only 1 hour, so it's fine.
Right, yeah, of course.
I did the Fiorano test, but Fiorano is not such a difficult track because, you know, you're doing 1 lap at a time and the laps are really short. The big test was in Abu Dhabi, where I did a full day in the post-season test. It wasn't easy by any means, but I was still holding on at the end. So I was quite happy with that because basically the second I found out in Monza that I'd be driving F1, I always said to my trainer, like, we need to push for this because, you know, you can't turn up to the first day and, you know, not be able to move your neck up.
Get me the head thing so you can just
strap me in.
Abuse my neck. Like, I saw Alex posted an Instagram story yesterday of him in LA doing some training with his 80 kilos of force.
Yeah, ripping his head off.
Neck. Do you have one of them at home?
Yeah.
Do you just attach it to a wall and do it yourself, or do you get?
I don't do it so much at home. Home in Italy, I do it.
Okay. I think your sister would enjoy just like
ripping
your head off.
She'd actually probably manage. She doesn't want me here. No, I work a lot with that in Italy.
Yeah.
I have a trainer, and we basically spent 2 months. I spent 2 months in this device basically. It's really painful because you can't sleep. When you really push hard,
yeah, of course,
it's really like you struggle a lot.
You got like a special pillow or something? Just
I need one.
Yeah, that's like a good idea.
I'll put it on my birthday wish list.
Yeah. One of them. I guess when you're flying and you get those like
big neck pillows.
Yeah, neck pillows that'll do the job.
Yeah.
That's mate. It's like it's crazy because obviously I've been following you. Well, F3 as well, of course.
Yeah.
That went right down to the wire, and then in F2. You get that FP1 opportunity, and again, I suppose Mexico on the F1 because F2 is huge, of course, but F1 is,
It's another level,
of course it is. After you did that FP1, and Haas were very kind with their words as well, which helped, and you went quicker than Fernando in FP1 in Mexico.
Yeah, I think it was a good session.
You did go quicker than Fernando, technically. So it's what, I think he probably went quicker than you in Abu Dhabi, so it's 1-1, basically.
Yeah.
Bearman versus Alonso, so keep an eye on that one. What changed after? Like, how did your Instagram following change? Like, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, did it really, did you
think-
notice a change after that FP1?
I think it was on a good trajectory anyway. Kind of like my...
Oh, you
I
were
don't know,
cooking already,
following.
but
Yeah.
FP1
like,
bump, right?
Exactly, that was really positive. And also to get, an F2 fan is a big motorsport fan.
Yeah, of
you
course.
get a lot of people who are just F1 fans, like we were saying. And to be in a real F1 session, that was a pretty cool moment. A lot of pressure. I was on track with Hamilton, with Alonso, like he said. I made sure to get right out that way. I didn't want to annoy anyone.
That's the last thing you want.
Yeah. Especially the Ferrari guys as well. I didn't want to have any issues with them. But yeah, no, it was cool. I was quite nervous, especially beforehand.
Of course, man.
Because Mexico is a tough track as well. I was shocked by the level of grip in Mexico because of the altitude. So the cars actually make less downforce than they do in Monza. And you see they're running the same package as
full
as
wing
Monaco.
as well, isn't it? Full downforce
Exactly.
wing.
So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The car was moving all over the place. I had a big moment, but luckily I managed to save it. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It went by so quickly, it was just 1 hour. That's why it was nice to do the post-season test, because I worked with the team for a full day. Got to try and improve, because in FP1 you get 2 sets of tyres. You get like a hard to start with, and then you maybe put a soft on at the end. And on that set of soft tyres you get 1 lap. So you better get it right. And of course the first time I didn't quite get it right. So in Abu Dhabi, when we had like 10 sets of tyres, it was nice to get everything down. I feel like I did a good job there as well.
The words were very kind around it, and I mean, hopefully, I'd imagine that's probably on the cards for this season, right? 2024, an FP1 at some point.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully,
I
did
guess
a
you
good
don't
enough
know
impression.
until pretty late on, though, right? Like,
yeah, I mean the teams tend to kind of leave them later in the season, especially because also with F2 we have a lot of clashes at the start of the year.
oh yeah,
We're doing pretty much all of them. But later in the year, Mexico is a good example. I think half the grid was rookies, and again in Abu Dhabi, half the grid was rookies again, or even more. So yeah, I think that's where they tend to do it, because it's a bit easier for them.
What was it like? Obviously, you did FP1 in Abu Dhabi in the F1 car, but then you obviously had the
Jump
F2
back in
weekends.
F2.
Was that difficult?
It was difficult,
transition?
but it was just because it was my first time doing it.
Okay.
I probably underestimated the challenge. Jumping back in the F2, I didn't really adapt very well, and it was a tough quali for me and a tough weekend as a result. But it was my first time doing it, so it was not expected. But for example, I got back in the F1 in the postseason test. The day after I was in the F2, and it was like back to normal straight away.
Yeah.
It was just the first time that I struggled a little bit, but I think from now I'll have it down, because I've done it before.
Yeah, you've got that kind of.
I know what to look out for, I know what to expect, so that's
Yeah.
useful. And now with the new F2 car, maybe it might be a bit closer to the F1. So
Well, let's
Not
talk
sure.
about the new F2 car, because like the specs are identical almost in terms of engine
Power,
Yeah,
tyres, yeah.
it's like 4 centimeters longer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's mainly, and the wing looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
If it's going to help racing, I'll take it. You've not driven it yet, right?
No, we have a shakedown in January 24th in Barcelona. But that will literally just be a shakedown to check the systems and stuff. I don't think we'll get to drive it in anger. But before Bahrain, we have 3 days to kind of get to grips with it. But it will be a tough job, because only really 3 days of setting up the car. It's going to be difficult, although it's fairly similar. There will be some differences for sure. 3 days and we're straight into the first race, so it will be important to make the most of those days.
How different are you expecting it to feel?
I've seen an article or two. I don't expect a huge difference, especially considering it's the same power unit, the same tires, stuff like that stays fairly similar. So I think, the weight's the same. So I think generally it's going to be a similar car. But you know, some areas might change. We don't know how much downforce it makes, for example, or the way it makes downforce looks slightly different. So you know, it could help racing. Hopefully, it does. That's always fun.
Just make sure 4 centimeters longer. So you don't want to be losing your nose.
Front wing off. It's a big front wing as well. It looks expensive, so
massive.
You've got to look after it.
Yeah. No, it's no. I'm really excited to see, because I mean that previous chassis had been in place since 2017. 18.
Yeah, it's done a long.
Dallara 2018, wasn't it? Because you've got a lot of new drivers coming in this year as well. I'll be interested to see, like, as it's a new car for everyone, I would imagine it makes that transition, because you've done a year, but you've still got to get used to a new car.
Yeah.
And then so has, whether it's your teammate Kimi or Ratomo or whoever's, all these other drivers coming in. I imagine it might level things up a little bit, maybe? Level the transition for those guys coming in? Make your job a bit harder?
Potentially. It's just, it could be the case. But also kind of just F2 in itself, the weekend format doesn't change, so that at least helps the experienced guys. The fact that it's a different car maybe plays a little bit against us, but I don't expect it to be a big factor. No, I'm still confident.
How do you reflect on 23? Do you have a good idea in yourself of what you need to do differently, what you need to do better, what you need to do less of, more of, to make sure that you're finishing the season as number one?
It's quite clear 2023 was inconsistent. Speed was never really in doubt, in question, but the consistency was more of a struggle. I had quite a few ups and downs. That was kind of the reason I wasn't always up there. That's what I'm going to be working on for next year. As I've gone through the season, I've understood what I need from the car, and what feeling I need to be confident and to go fast. And you can kind of match that up to, my good weekends are when I feel this particular feeling. So I'll be looking for a few more of those. I think experience as well is going to help.
Of course.
I'm still quite young, and a year in F2 has done a lot for me. I've grown so much this year. It's been my most difficult year, but also the year where I've learned the most about myself, how I am as a person, as a driver, how I react to certain situations, to certain instances. So I feel as ready as ever to fight up there in 2024.
That kind of consistency, have you identified in your own head what it is? So obviously there's so many different, there's one lap pace, there's setup and that relationship with your team, there's just your own internal kind of expectation, and how when I'm on my sim at home playing Gran Turismo and I put it in the wall, I get so angry with myself. I'm really nasty to myself, and afterwards I'm like, why am I so mean to myself?
It's just a game.
It's just a game, literally. And I can just reset. But are you confident that you've identified, I guess, what you need to do to make that consistency improve for 24?
Yeah, I think it's clear. That was kind of the first thing I went away and looked at. And maybe looking back, could have acted on it a little bit quicker last year. But the main issue was just mistakes, especially at the start of the year. I was always doing a decent race, but trying so hard, and then a mistake would come and really just put me back to step one. And I can pinpoint a lot of moments where I was just trying too hard or pushing too hard. And you really get punished for doing that, especially in this type of car. So
of course.
That's kind of one of the things, and a few mental things as well that need work. But no one's perfect. Everyone needs work, and I've identified a lot of things about myself that I hope to improve to keep pushing forward as a driver.
And certainly in Baku, that wasn't a problem, because we've got to talk about that. Baku, you qualify on pole, you win the sprint, and you win the feature race. What was it about that weekend that clicked, do you think?
That was an incredible weekend. I think, first of all, from the outside, it was a perfect weekend. From the inside, I think I bent like 2 or 3 rims. I bent my steering.
You were like that? You're a straight lad. I'm like, what's he doing?
It was a discipline.
That's not how it's meant to be. They haven't set the car up like that.
IndyCar setup.
Yeah.
I think I hit the wall I tapped the wall in every session.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but I just felt I just felt so much confidence.
Yeah.
The car was doing exactly what I wanted it to. Everything just worked. And honestly, the thrill of a street track, Baku, Monaco, Jeddah, you can't describe it. It's incredible. But yeah, I feel like street tracks overall went well for me this year. Maybe not Monaco, but that's for a different reason. I think the reason Baku went well was also the reason that Monaco went badly, because I was up to speed really quickly in Baku, straight on the pace, pushing hard. I did the same thing in Monaco, a little mistake, and I was out of FP and lost half the
for you,
session.
man.
So
They buy it.
exactly, it needs to be managed, I would say. Baku was a really strong weekend, but it kind of started a run of better results. But still, you saw I went to Baku, won everything, and then I went to Monaco and crashed in FP. So it was still, especially in that early part of the season, consistency was not a thing. Still needed a lot of work, and those mistakes were still too prevalent and too common. And still at the end, I still made too many mistakes, but I feel like I'm ready to pounce this year.
It's mad, isn't it? I can't believe it's 2024, man. That's actually crazy. Time
I keep
flies.
saying next year, but it is this year now. We're here.
Upcoming season, yeah. It's these F2 cars, this previous generation anyway.
Yeah.
What kind of, we hear a lot in F1 about drivers talking about the V or the U around corners. What style would you say is your style? And also what style do you think the F2 car requires? Because it's the same chassis for everyone, it's the same tyres for everyone.
Yeah, I think the difficulty of the F2 is the entry of the corner, where it's a bit difficult. You have to find a lot of confidence in that kind of phase. And that kind of lends the car as to being driven more in kind of a V shape, which, yeah, I don't find as natural maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably the thing I struggled with the most in F2, especially in the races, because in the races you just have less grip. In F2 we have less downforce in the races as well, to try and make the racing a little bit closer. So if you look at a quali spec F2 versus a race spec, you'll see that you've got like 18 degrees less downforce. It's a lot less. So yeah, that's probably the difficult part, and maybe a bit less my style. And I think also why I jumped in the F1 car and was up to speed quite easily, because it suits the way I drive. The F1 is like perfect, so it's really nice to drive, and you can kind of do what you want with it. So that's why I feel like I got up to speed quite well in that. Yeah, it was good.
But, so when you did the two FP1 sessions, you drove Nico's car first?
It was Kevin's first and Nico's in Abu Dhabi.
And obviously we know with the Haas that they're kind of, Nico and Kevin both Kevin had the new spec, Nico had the old spec. But did you drive each spec?
I did drive both. I think I drove the new spec in...
Because Kevin's been running, so you probably would have driven the newest spec in Mexico.
I think so.
Did they feel different, the two cars?
Yeah, that was a bit of a difference.
They did feel different.
Yeah. I think the new kind of specification that they went for was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
It felt a bit better to drive, but then again, it just depends on your style. I preferred it, but I'm also new to the car, so it's not sure. It was nice to try both and feel the differences, because up until then I'd just done tiny setup changes, like a bit of front wing. That was pretty much it. So it was nice on that day, the Tuesday or the Monday after Abu Dhabi, to do the postseason test and try a load of different things, to build up kind of a database and a knowledge bank of what this does, how it affects certain corners, because I know what that does in an F2 car, but it doesn't correlate exactly to F1. So it was nice to start to build up some knowledge.
Because I guess you want to make sure that if and when you get that shot in F1, whenever that may be, that you're able to, because some F1 cars clearly need more of a U approach, some need more of a V approach. We've seen with lots of different teams as well, drivers coming in. You look at, say, Daniel, when he was in Renault, he was doing amazing, getting the ceiling of his performance. He clearly wasn't able to extract that same ceiling of his performance from that McLaren, because they were clearly two very different cars. You've got that more natural style, but also when you do, if and when you do get into F1, like you've got to make sure that whatever you're jumping into, you're going to get on top of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you need to be ready, right?
Yeah.
Especially, you know, if you get that chance for a one-off, who knows? You need to do a good one, like Liam did. I think Lawson did an amazing job.
He really
when
did,
he
yeah.
subbed in,
Yeah.
and now his stock, let's say, is very high. He's very highly regarded now. So yeah, that will be important. It's very rare, but even the FP1s count as well. You know, that's why I think I was quite happy after the FPs, just because of how it went. Yeah, hopefully I get some more opportunities like that.
Is it you get one super license point per FP1? I think.
I think so, but now
That's
I have
the
my
case.
super license. So
So you've got enough points now.
yeah, so it's not an issue anymore. I got 40 after I finished F2, so that was lucky.
That was nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, because I think they run out after a certain amount of
Yeah.
time. But obviously, like 2025, there's 14 drivers whose contracts are up at the end of this season. 14 out of 20.
That's insane.
So, I mean, look, what have you got to do this year? You've got Kimi as a teammate coming in at Prema, and obviously there's a lot of hype around Kimi coming in, and look at his record, rightly so. You've got Rotomo, who's Super Formula, Super GT champion coming in. You've got Victor, who had a great year last year, and you and Victor have been racing together, in F2 and F3,
and
right?
F2 and F3 now, yeah.
You've got Paul Aaron making the step up, Zach O'Sullivan. I did a video, my last video before this one, was why I think the 24 F2 season is like primed to be the best F2 season ever, just because the array of talent across the boards. What you got to do to win?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year, but I'm up for the challenge. I'm really looking forward to it. I've shown that pace is not an issue. I'm not worried about that. It's about putting consistent weekends together. Pocha was a great example of that. He only won one race and he was the champion.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
The point is just to be there all the time. This championship is about consistency, scoring points whenever you can. That's what I have to do to fight up the front. And yeah, no doubt with my team Prema, we can be up there anyway with the new car. I believe in them, so it's just about doing the job from my side now, and hopefully it'll be enough. I think it's going to be a long year, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Lando got second, and he only won one race.
Yeah,
in F2 as well.
Exactly. I mean, I won 4 races, I think, which is one of the most.
Yeah.
And I came 6th in the championship, so that just shows the difference between me, who was very up and down, very high highs but low lows as well, versus Pocher, who was very consistent, always there. That's maybe the difference. So that's what I'm focusing on.
So what's the plan now? Obviously we're filming this on the 10th of Jan. You said you're flying back tomorrow?
Yeah, I have my flight tomorrow,
Yeah.
lunchtime, back to Italy. It would be nice to get back into the swing of things. It feels like when I'm there, it feels like I'm racing, It's like, here feels like home, chilled, relaxed. I'm not really thinking about racing. Once I go back to Italy, it has that connotation, I live 10 minutes away from the factory. So yeah, looking forward to getting back on Friday. So 2 days away, I have my first session back on the sim. Then I'm in Prema next week for my seat fit to start to prepare for the season. That's when it will start to get real, once I actually sit in the car. Yeah.
See if you've grown any more as well.
Oh, hopefully not.
No, I'm 6'3" now.
Yeah, damn it.
How often are you in the factory at Ferrari?
In Ferrari, I probably 3 or 4 days a week.
Nice.
If I'm not on the sim, I'll be in the gym, having meetings with the guys, preparing for the next races, which is really nice. I feel like part of the family. It's a really nice atmosphere. I know a lot of the people there now. I've been there for 2 years. So 2 years? Yeah, 2 years. So yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I'm starting to learn Italian a bit better as well. So yeah.
I was literally gonna ask that. How is it coming along?
It's okay. I've had a few lessons. I feel like I've learned more just from being there, being around people speaking Italian. At first I was like, damn it, I have to understand what these guys are saying. Are they talking behind my back?
Yeah.
But No, it's nice to be able to speak another language. I'm not saying I can. I've got maybe half of it.
No, but you're on the
I
way.
can communicate a little bit. So yeah, that's.
And the longer you're out there, the more that's just going to.
The more you learn. Exactly.
Yeah.
I learned German as a kid.
Okay.
To GCSE level, so
Yeah.
I forgot it all, but I kind of have a language brain maybe it helped me, because I've learned pretty quickly. So
I think that's just such a skill to have, like, forget about racing, just in life. I wish I could, I remember when because my dad used to live in Spain and got me learning Spanish when I was really young, but then my secondary school didn't offer it.
Right.
So which is a shame really, because I'd love to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
Then I could
Yeah, it's cool to have a language.
El Tomo, kind of a Spanish version.
Yeah.
AI will probably sort that out soon.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They'll make your voice in.
Yeah. Obviously, you're living in Italy now. Like, do you get much time? Like, are there many hobbies you indulge in, like, outside of the racing?
I'd probably say I'm quite a boring person otherwise. A lot of people ask me that, but Italy's a beautiful country, a lot of landscape and stuff, which I need to explore more, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But apart from that, I try to get home to see my family as much as I can, because obviously it's quite difficult.
It's like 2 hours from Bologna, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Just normally the flight's delayed, which is a bit annoying.
Always delayed. We literally had the exact same issue, didn't we? When I went out, they had to change the tyre on the plane. Yeah. 2 separate times. British Airways saw it out. Unacceptable. It's mate. Listen, thank you so much for coming. Great pleasure chatting.
Yeah, it's really nice. Nice to find someone from my hometown as well. It's cool.
That's what I mean. When I knew you from Chelmsford, I was like, we've got to make this happen at some point.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just like a chill off season. It's the crescendo, isn't it, of motorsport, and obviously working in it from my point of view, where I'm kind of covering it from a semi-journalistic point of view, but doing all my own bits as well. I was saying about, like, livery season's coming up, so
busy time for you.
Have you seen the Ferrari?
No, I haven't yet.
You're going to see it when everyone else sees it.
Yeah, maybe, but honestly last year I didn't, and for the launch I'll be in Bahrain for the test.
Oh, will you? Okay.
To be honest, we'll probably be seeing it at the same time, but hopefully soon I'll get to drive it on the sim, even if I don't see what it looks like. I'll see how it drives.
Oh, also helmet design.
Yeah.
How's yours? Have you got a new design for this year, or?
I've kept it quite similar.
Okay.
I want to kind of create a brand almost, so that someone sees my helmet and knows that it's me. So if you saw for example, my Haas helmet, it's the same design pretty much. Yep. It's just Haas colors, or not really Haas colors, but my own colors. I quite like the colors that I have and the design I have. Few changes I've done, but I've kept it quite similar.
How did you come to the color palette and the?
So my first ever karting helmet, I raced with a team in karting when so this was in 2015, so I was 10. That was my first painted helmet. So that's always a big moment. Before, you're racing around with a white helmet.
Yeah.
Look like a
generic
NPC. Exactly. And then you get your painted helmet.
Yeah.
That's a cool moment. And my first one was chrome, blue and yellow, exactly like the livery of the team I was racing for. Yeah. Then we went through a few variations, like in karting I basically had a helmet the same color as the team I was racing with. And then when I went to F4, I really loved those colors. It was a good match, and I went for it. And I added black in now, so I've got black instead of chrome. Yep. So I've got one black and one chrome, which is pretty cool. I think it's cool. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. But I think it's a cool helmet.
Who does your design?
Brandon Sieber.
Brandon, yeah.
He's actually in Chelmsford as well.
Is he? Oh, we've got to make that happen then. Well, no, because I want this year. I want to make my own helmet. Yeah. I want to get a design done for me. Yeah. Yeah. In my pink, in my grey, and then take it to Buckmore 24. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, can I get it done before that? Maybe. I don't want to damage it though. I feel like I'll be too scared.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like your pride and joy,
Have you got quite a collection now of helmets?
Yeah, but I've given a few away as well. So, the thing is, we have so for Haas I had 2 helmets. Yeah. For F2 I had 2 helmets. So I want to eventually. I've got my original one. I want to have eventually a collection of a lot of them. But until we get to F1, F1 have 2 helmets every weekend. Us in F2 we have 2 helmets for the year. So it's a bit different. But it's nice to start to build up a little collection.
Building up the brand, the Bearman brand.
Exactly.
Love it. And also, are you still going to be doing YouTube stuff this year? Because I saw you you've been doing some vlogging.
Yeah.
Get some content out there.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, man, I love it.
It's pretty
Great.
cool. It's nice to build up a personality off track as well, because most of us just see us in race suits and fireproof underwear. So.
Yeah, and it's a different version of you, isn't it? Right? You're in work mode. You're in like focused business mode.
Exactly.
But also, you're a person outside of that.
Yeah, it's nice to get some. I've got a decent sized fan base now, which is really cool. So it's nice to give them what they want. So yeah, I'm hoping to do some more stuff. I haven't had anything laid out yet, but I'll work on it.
The thing is, honestly, mate, like stuff like that, you just don't need don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Just you can get someone with a camera to just follow you around and just like someone you can trust with an edit. Just let it. You just don't want to overproduce stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just want it to be natural and
not artificial. Yeah.
That will definitely come across in the content. But mate, listen, like you've been very generous for your time, so I do appreciate it. I know you're flying tomorrow as well, but thank you, Ollie, for coming on. Pleasure. Let the people know where to find you, I guess. Right.
So I think all of my accounts are just Ollie Bearman. Apart from maybe.
You managed to get your full name.
Yeah.
In the app.
I managed to do that. That was a good job.
You did well there.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Ollie Bearman 1 sometimes on Twitter or something. But yeah, just search it.
I'll stick links in the description and all that stuff. But mate, pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Bosh.
It's nice to find someone nearby.
Yes, and hopefully we'll both have long careers in this space.
Exactly.
Hopefully we're both kind of starting. I'll be like talking about you when you do really well, when you do really badly, and I'll make sure to just be really biased.
Just be really kind. Yeah.
Be really biased. You would never do anything wrong,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Right, sweet. That's good. I'm happy with that.
Ollie Bearman, what a gent. Best of luck, honestly, to him this year, because it ain't going to be easy. I cannot believe the maturity for an 18-year-old. Genuinely, really impressive. And I was definitely getting a quiet confidence, Piastri-esque to me. That's kind of what it felt like. I am so sure this 2024 F2 season is going to be a banger, and he's a big reason as to why. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments below who you'd like me to sit down with next. Hopefully we can make this a running thing. A big shout out to ACanteen once again. Make sure you check them out if you're ever in the area. Because my name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.